From the Weather NorCal Command Center, this is your Evening Update.
Ants Meats and Grocery is much more than a grocery store. We carry a full line of quality meats, local and organic vegetables, and a large variety of fish, Green Mountain Smart Control pellet grills, and a full deli case of sandwiches and side dishes.
Well, as many of you might be watching this, the Reading Rodeo has pretty much started here for your Wednesday. So the Friday and Saturday tickets have been sold out. If you want to go tomorrow, tickets are still available. Go to readingrodeo.com. You can purchase your tickets there. You can also call the box office at area code 530-241-8559. If you're heading out to the Reading Rodeo this evening, well, the gates opened at 5 p.m. The rodeo itself will start at 7 p.m. So by then we'll probably be somewhere around 94, 95 degrees. It's going to be a hot start to the rodeo. Make sure you've got plenty of water. I know that there are going to be some non-water type of beverages that are going to be consumed by many of you, but make sure that you accompany those with water to stay hydrated. Bring that sunscreen as well. But as we get closer to sunset, obviously you're going to be looking at those temperatures dropping upper 70s to low 80s by the time we get toward the end of the actual rodeo. Not as warm over the next few days, but I do expect a cooling trend as we approach the weekend. Highs will be much closer to normal by next week. And I'm tracking the potential for some mountain showers as we go through parts of next week, and maybe even the potential for thunderstorms. As we get closer to next week, we'll start getting a better handle on when we might just start to see that happen. But in the meantime, we got to get through this heat wave. The good news is by tomorrow, we're going to see a significant drop in our temperatures for the valley, only reaching with highs in the low 90s, keeping it that way even for Trinity County. Now, what you'll notice is that it's warmer in Trinity County than it is in the valley. Now, there's a reason for that, because the valley will most likely experience a bit of a delta breeze tomorrow. That delta breeze is that cooling effect with that marine influence working its way up the valley. Now, it's most felt in places like Sacramento, places to our south. However, we can sometimes feel that delta breeze as well. But elsewhere in the mountains, mainly in the 80s, and for the coast in the mid 60s. All right, let's take a look at Futurecast. And I do expect to probably still see a little bit in the way of some of the low clouds and some fog for parts of the coast here, really over the next few days. In fact, as we go into tomorrow, we do have that better chance going through the afternoon. Afternoon, towering cumulus clouds. They're going to look like thunderheads, but I don't anticipate any rain or thunderstorms. Then we go into your Friday morning, probably starting off with some of that fog along the coast again. Clearing out by midday, then maybe more low clouds coming in late in the day, but you can see a lot of sunshine, maybe some clouds down to the south and east. But you get the idea. These warmer and dry and conditions, and not to mention sunny skies, will kind of persist. So a few things that we look at when we're talking about fire weather risk. Number one, winds. Number two, humidity. And number three, the heat. So typically when you see a north wind, it's very dry, and that's what was the case today. And that's why our weather risk was somewhere around the moderate to high range, right? Because we saw those winds kind of pick up from the north. We saw the low relative humidity. And of course, the hottest day of the year was pretty much today for many of us. But the good news is, remember I was mentioning by tomorrow, we're getting more of that south wind coming in. That is what's known as that delta breeze. Think of the marine layer along the coast. It works its way in through the delta around the Bay Area, and then that cooler air with that south wind works its way northward, and as a result, we see cooler temperatures. But one thing that's interesting about that is the mountains don't feel the impacts of that delta breeze, and that's why it will be warmer in some of the mountain locations than it will actually be in the valley. But the fire weather risk drops for tomorrow. Now on Friday, those winds will shift back from the north, but not all that strong, so our fire weather risk will be in that low to moderate range. So we're not terribly concerned about it after today. But look at the trend for Reading in particular, for the valley. We're basically looking at low 90s for tomorrow through Saturday, but where we're really going to start to notice those temperatures drop is for the second half of the weekend and really even going through next week. In fact, there's a chance we could even drop below normal by the middle of next week. Now we look at the temperature trend for the mountains, still a bit on the warm side for your Thursday. We're going to notice a bigger drop going into the weekend, and even more so. We're talking 60s by next Tuesday and Wednesday. All right, so here's the big ridge of high pressure. This is responsible for the heat today and even tomorrow. But as these storm systems ride to our north, not only is it flattening out the ridge and suppressing the heat, but is pushing that heat back down to the south and west. As a result, our temperatures start to drop. So we have a first push of some cooler air coming in, especially by Sunday and into Monday. That's going to be our first kind of decent drop in those temperatures down into the 80s by Sunday. Then as we go into early next week, Tuesday, even Wednesday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday of next week, this is the next shot of cooler air. And this is going to be even cooler than that first shot. And this is where we see the potential for temperatures dropping down below normal by around the middle of next week. But another thing we'll have to take a look at is what kind of impact this will have on us as far as any rain is concerned. Now, typically, these systems coming from the north, they're fairly moisture starved. So we'll have to kind of wait and see. For now, I'm not really including the chances for showers or thunderstorms in the mountains, but by around sometime mid next week, we may be talking about that potential here. So kind of stay tuned if you live in the mountains or are planning on going to the mountains to kind of figure out when we may start to see the chances for showers and maybe even some thunderstorms in the mountains, not the valley. So there's your wave heights as we go into tomorrow afternoon. We actually may see them begin to drop a little bit here, but I mean, even as we go into Friday, you're just not seeing much change there. So when we look at the marine forecast, there is that hazardous seas warning that you do need to be aware of. Those winds will be from the north at about 10 to 20 knots for your Thursday, with your high tide at 7:15 in the morning and your low tide at about 1:44 in the afternoon. Here's what it looks like tonight. It's going to be another mild night, only dropping down to the low 60s. And depending on what those winds are doing, those temperatures may be a bit warmer in some spots here, but we're staying out of the 30s in the mountains. Look at Susanville. You're only dropping down to 52 degrees tomorrow morning, 43 degrees for Alturas, 48 degrees in Ayden, and even in Trinity County in the low to mid 50s. Along the coast, upper 40s to low 50s. Looking at your Trinity County neighborhood forecast, again, it's going to be maybe even a little bit warmer than it was today here for tomorrow. As we take a look at our North Coast neighborhood forecast, starting off with central and southern Humboldt County, temperatures like Garberville, Alder Point, mid 80s. But as we take you northward, we're talking about mid to upper 80s. Orleans 85, 87 Hoopa, and Willow Creek about 89. But we take you along the coast, temperatures in the low to mid 60s. Here's a look at your Siskiyou County neighborhood forecast. Again, peaking today with that warming trend, but temperatures start to drop after that, 60s. Ah, yes, by next Tuesday and Wednesday. There's a look at your Modoc County neighborhood forecast. Temperatures in the low to even some mid 80s. So it looks like we're breaking away from those 70s and getting into the 80s before we get back down into the 70s and eventually even some 60s. Your Eastern Mountains neighborhood forecast, temperatures low to mid 80s here for your daytime highs. Yeah, upper 80s tomorrow. Low to mid 80s by Friday, Saturday, 70s by Sunday, upper 60s by next Wednesday. And your Valley neighborhood forecast brought to you by NorCal Tractor. Look at that. Those temperatures are going to be probably close to 10 degrees cooler in some cases. Why? There it is. There's that south wind. It's that south delta breeze that we all love so much and love to talk about. It helps to cool us off a bit. Still a little bit warmer to the north. We tend to see that delta breeze weaken as it moves farther and farther to the north. 91 degrees for Redding, 92 for Anderson, as well as Palisadro, and looks like Whiskeytown, about 89 degrees. All right, let's take a look at your 7-day outlook for Redding. Of course, the Redding Rodeo is for Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Highs, those days will be in the low 90s, and then we do expect to see temperatures to drop even more in the low 80s by next Tuesday and Wednesday.